Austria rarely dominates global economic headlines, yet it consistently ranks among Europe's wealthiest and most stable countries. Unlike larger economies that rely on dramatic growth narratives, Austria built prosperity through a quieter strategy, rooted in industrial specialization, social partnership, and geographic advantage at the heart of Central Europe. After World War II, the country focused on rebuilding its economy not through rapid expansion alone, but through balanced development that emphasized manufacturing quality, vocational training, and close cooperation between employers, labor unions, and government institutions. This model created stability rather than volatility, allowing Austrian companies to compete internationally without sacrificing domestic social cohesion. Many of its most successful industries operate outside public attention, producing machinery, engineering components, and specialized industrial goods integrated into European supply chains. Austria's position between Western and Eastern Europe also shaped its economic identity. As neighboring markets transitioned after the Cold War, Austrian firms expanded quietly into emerging economies, building influence without the aggressive branding seen in larger countries. Tourism contributes significantly to national income, yet it is not the sole driver of wealth. Instead, Austria combines strong public infrastructure with a diversified export base that balances risk across sectors. Critics sometimes describe the country as conservative or slow-moving, but this cautious approach helped it avoid the boom and bust cycles experienced elsewhere. Rather than chasing rapid transformation, Austria prioritized incremental growth, supported by strong institutions and fiscal discipline. Understanding how Austria became rich requires looking beyond stereotypes of Alpine tourism and cultural heritage toward the systems that sustain long-term prosperity. Its story is not about sudden success, but about consistency, coordination, and quiet strategic positioning within Europe's evolving economic landscape. Austria's wealth appears understated on the surface, yet the systems behind it reveal a blueprint for stability rarely discussed in global economic debates today. One of the central pillars behind Austria's quiet wealth is its industrial structure, which focuses on high-value manufacturing rather than mass production. Austrian companies rarely dominate global consumer brands, yet they play essential roles within European supply chains by producing precision machinery, engineering components, and specialized equipment. This niche positioning allows firms to compete on quality and reliability rather than low costs, protecting them from intense price competition seen in larger manufacturing economies. Many of these companies are family-owned or medium-sized enterprises known in Germany and Central Europe as the Mittelstand, businesses that prioritize long-term stability over rapid expansion. Their success depends heavily on skilled labor, which Austria supports through a strong vocational education system that blends classroom learning with real-world apprenticeships. Young workers enter industries with practical experience, creating a workforce aligned with industrial needs. This system reduces unemployment and strengthens productivity because training reflects actual market demand. Cooperation between employers and unions further stabilizes wages and working conditions, preventing disruptive labor conflicts. Austria's manufacturing model benefits from close economic ties with Germany, allowing firms to integrate into larger production networks while maintaining independence. Rather than competing directly with global giants, Austrian companies specialize in components that larger manufacturers rely on, embedding themselves deeply within international trade flows. This approach creates resilience because demand for specialized industrial inputs tends to remain steady even during economic downturns. While Austria's economy may appear small compared to major powers, its industrial ecosystem demonstrates how strategic specialization can generate sustained wealth. The country's focus on precision and reliability illustrates that economic success does not always require global visibility. Austria's real strength lies not in dominating headlines, but in quietly becoming indispensable to the industries that shape Europe's economic engine. Austria's geographic position at the crossroads of Western and Eastern Europe has played a critical role in shaping its economic rise. Historically, Vienna served as a cultural and commercial bridge between different regions, and this legacy continues to influence modern trade networks. After the Cold War, as Central and Eastern European countries opened their markets, Austrian banks, construction firms, and manufacturers expanded rapidly into neighboring economies. Instead of competing aggressively on a global scale, Austria built a regional influence by investing early in countries such as Hungary, the Czech Republic, Slovakia, and Slovenia. These investments created financial and industrial connections that strengthened Austria's role as a gateway between established European Union markets and emerging economies. Austrian banks became particularly active, financing infrastructure and business development across the region. This expansion provided new revenue streams while diversifying risk beyond domestic borders. The country's stable political environment and reputation for reliability encouraged cross-border partnerships, making Vienna a hub for regional headquarters and international organizations. Logistics infrastructure also benefited from this central location, allowing Austrian companies to move goods efficiently across Europe. Rather than relying solely on domestic consumption, Austria leveraged its geography to integrate deeply into continental supply chains. Critics sometimes argue that dependence on neighboring markets exposes Austria to regional downturns, yet the strategy has generally strengthened resilience by spreading economic activity across multiple countries. The result is an economy that thrives not through dramatic global dominance, but through strategic positioning within Europe's interconnected landscape. Austria demonstrates how geography, when combined with institutional stability and regional cooperation, can become a powerful engine of long-term growth. Sitting quietly at Europe's center allowed Austria to build influence through connection rather than confrontation, shaping wealth through proximity instead of scale. Austria's social partnership model represents another key factor behind its quiet prosperity, shaping how economic decisions balance growth with stability. Unlike economies where labor conflicts frequently disrupt production, Austria developed a system where employers' associations, labor unions, and government representatives coordinate closely on wage agreements and industrial policy. This cooperative framework emerged after World War II as a way to prevent political instability and rebuild trust between workers and businesses. Collective bargaining agreements cover large portions of the workforce, helping maintain predictable wage growth and reducing inequality compared to many other countries. The companies benefit from stable labor relations that allow long-term planning, while employees gain security and access to strong social protections. This balance encourages investment because businesses can anticipate operating costs without sudden disruptions. Austria's approach contrasts with more adversarial labor markets, where negotiations often lead to strikes or abrupt policy shifts. Critics sometimes argue that coordinated wage structures reduce flexibility, yet the system has supported consistent productivity gains by fostering collaboration rather than conflict. Vocational training programs operate within this framework, ensuring that workforce skills evolve alongside industrial needs. The government plays a facilitating role rather than imposing top-down control, allowing stakeholders to negotiate solutions tailored to specific sectors. This partnership model also extends into social welfare systems, where healthcare, education, and unemployment benefits create a safety net that stabilizes consumption during economic downturns. By reducing uncertainty, Austria encourages both businesses and households to make long-term investments. The result is an economic environment defined less by rapid booms and more by steady progress. Austria's wealth reflects not only market forces, but also institutional trust built through decades of cooperation between public and private actors. Stability becomes a competitive advantage when economic systems prioritize cooperation over confrontation, turning predictability into a source of quiet strength. Austria's fiscal discipline and cautious economic management have also contributed significantly to its long-term wealth, distinguishing it from countries that rely on rapid expansion fueled by debt. Rather than pursuing aggressive growth strategies, Austrian policymakers traditionally emphasize balanced budgets, moderate public spending, and sustainable investment in infrastructure. This conservative approach helped the country navigate financial crises with less volatility compared to some European peers. During economic downturns, Austria focused on maintaining employment and supporting key industries rather than implementing drastic austerity measures that could destabilize the workforce. Strong public services, including transportation, healthcare, and education, create a foundation that enhances productivity without excessive fiscal risk. Austria's integration into the European Union and adoption of the euro also reinforced fiscal discipline by aligning national policies with broader European financial frameworks. Banks operate under relatively strict regulatory standards, reflecting lessons learned from past financial shocks. Although Austria's banking sector expanded into Central and Eastern Europe, authorities monitored risks carefully to avoid systemic instability. Critics sometimes argue that cautious fiscal policy limits rapid innovation, yet supporters believe it protects long-term economic resilience. The government invests in research, renewable energy, and digital infrastructure at a measured pace, ensuring that modernization does not undermine stability. This balance between prudence and progress shapes Austria's reputation as a reliable economic partner within Europe. By avoiding extreme policy swings, Austria builds investor confidence and maintains relatively low borrowing costs. Fiscal discipline therefore becomes more than an accounting strategy. It functions as a signal of institutional reliability that attracts long-term capital. Austria's experience demonstrates how steady financial governance can quietly support prosperity without generating dramatic headlines. In a world chasing rapid growth, Austria's cautious financial strategy reveals how restraint itself can become a powerful engine of sustainable wealth. Austria's tourism industry plays a visible role in its economy, yet its contribution to wealth goes far beyond scenic landscapes and seasonal visitors. Alpine resorts, historic cities, and cultural festivals attract millions of tourists each year, generating income that supports local businesses and regional development. However, unlike countries that rely heavily on tourism as a primary economic driver, Austria integrates this sector into a broader, diversified model, complements manufacturing, finance, and services rather than dominating them. Investments in infrastructure, such as rail networks, environmental protection, and urban planning, enhance both visitor experiences and quality of life for residents. Austria emphasizes sustainable tourism practices, balancing economic benefits with environmental preservation to maintain long-term appeal. This strategy protects natural resources while ensuring steady demand across generations. Small and medium-sized enterprises benefit significantly, particularly family-owned hotels and restaurants that maintain high service standards. Cultural branding also strengthens Austria's global image, supporting exports indirectly by associating the country with quality and reliability. Tourism revenue helps stabilize rural regions that might otherwise face economic decline, reducing migration pressure toward major cities. At the same time, policymakers avoid overdependence on seasonal industries by promoting innovation and diversification in urban centers. This balanced approach prevents the volatility seen in economies heavily reliant on tourism alone. Austria's experience illustrates how cultural assets can reinforce economic resilience when integrated into a broader development strategy. Rather than chasing mass tourism at any cost, the country focuses on maintaining premium experiences that attract consistent demand. By aligning tourism with environmental sustainability and regional development, Austria transforms cultural heritage into a long-term economic asset rather than a short-term revenue source. Tourism may draw global attention, but Austria's real success lies in turning cultural identity into a stable pillar of diversified prosperity. Austria's financial sector quietly reinforces its economic strength by acting as a bridge between Western Europe and emerging markets in Central and Eastern Europe. Austrian banks expanded significantly after the Cold War, establishing strong positions in neighboring countries that were transitioning toward market economies. This expansion allowed financial institutions to diversify income sources while supporting regional development through lending and investment. Vienna became a strategic hub for companies managing operations across multiple European markets, offering stability, legal reliability, and access to skilled professionals. The financial sector benefits from Austria's reputation for prudence, where regulators emphasize risk management and long-term stability rather than speculative growth. Although some Austrian banks faced challenges during global financial crises, authorities implemented reforms that strengthened oversight and capital requirements. This cautious approach restored confidence and helped maintain the country's image as a safe financial center. Austrian insurance firms and asset managers also play important roles, providing investment channels that support infrastructure, renewable energy, and industrial innovation. Rather than competing directly with global financial giants, Austria positions itself as a specialized regional partner, leveraging its central location and cultural ties. The financial system supports small and medium-sized enterprises through accessible credit, enabling family-owned businesses to expand internationally without losing independence. This alignment between finance and industry reflects Austria's broader economic philosophy, where institutions work together to sustain long-term growth. Critics sometimes argue that regional exposure increases vulnerability during downturns in neighboring economies, yet diversification across multiple markets has generally strengthened resilience. Austria's financial sector therefore contributes to wealth not through dramatic speculation, but through steady facilitation of trade, investment, and regional integration. Financial influence often grows strongest when it operates quietly behind the scenes, connecting markets rather than dominating them openly. Austria's education and skill system forms another foundation of its quiet prosperity, shaping a workforce that supports both traditional industries and emerging sectors. The country places strong emphasis on vocational training, where students combine classroom learning with hands-on apprenticeships inside companies. This dual education model ensures that young workers enter the labor market with practical experience, rather than only theoretical knowledge. Employers participate directly in designing training programs, aligning curricula with real industry needs. As a result, Austria maintains relatively low youth unemployment compared to many European countries. Universities also play a role by supporting research partnerships with businesses, particularly in engineering, environmental technology, and life sciences. Public investment in education remains steady, reflecting a belief that long-term competitiveness depends on human capital as much as physical infrastructure. Austria encourages lifelong learning through retraining programs that help workers adapt to technological change without facing sudden displacement. This approach reduces social tension and supports economic transitions gradually. Cultural attitudes towards skilled trades further strengthen the system. Technical professions receive recognition comparable to academic careers, preventing the imbalance between university graduates and vocational workers seen elsewhere. Austria's emphasis on quality training contributes to high productivity and innovation within specialized manufacturing sectors. Critics sometimes argue that the system can appear rigid or slow to adapt, yet its stability creates confidence among employers and employees alike. Education, therefore, functions not only as a social investment, but as a strategic economic tool that sustains Austria's competitive advantages. By aligning training, industry, and policy, the country builds a workforce capable of supporting steady growth without dramatic disruption. When education aligns directly with industry needs, skills become a quiet engine driving prosperity across generations rather than a source of imbalance. Austria's commitment to environmental sustainability and energy transition has also contributed to its long-term economic strength, reinforcing both innovation and international competitiveness. Hydropower plays a major role in Austria's energy mix, providing a stable and relatively low carbon electricity supply that supports industry while reducing dependence on imported fossil fuels. This early investment in renewable energy created opportunities for companies specializing in green technology, engineering services, and environmental solutions. Austrian firms developed expertise in areas such as sustainable construction, water management, and energy efficiency, exporting these capabilities to markets across Europe and beyond. Environmental policy in Austria often focuses on gradual transition rather than sudden transformation, aligning ecological goals with economic stability. Public transportation systems, urban planning initiatives, and strict environmental standards enhance quality of life while attracting investment from businesses seeking reliable infrastructure and skilled labor. Tourism also benefits from environmental preservation, reinforcing Austria's reputation as a destination that balances economic growth with natural beauty. Critics sometimes argue that environmental regulations increase costs for businesses, yet many Austrian companies view sustainability as a competitive advantage rather than a burden. By positioning itself as a leader in green innovation, Austria attracts research partnerships and funding aligned with European climate initiatives. This approach demonstrates how environmental strategy can integrate with industrial development rather than compete against it. Austria's energy policies also reduce exposure to volatile global fuel markets, supporting economic resilience during geopolitical disruptions. The combination of renewable energy, sustainable infrastructure, and environmental expertise strengthens Austria's image as a forward-looking economy built on long-term thinking. Sustainability in Austria functions not only as an environmental goal, but as a strategic investment shaping economic resilience for the future. Ultimately, Austria's wealth is not the result of a single breakthrough moment, but the outcome of systems that evolved gradually and reinforced one another over decades. Industrial specialization, social partnership, fiscal discipline, regional integration, education, and sustainability combine to create an economy built on balance rather than extremes. Austria rarely pursues dramatic transformation, yet its steady progress demonstrates how consistency can outperform volatility in the long run. The country benefits from strong institutions that prioritize cooperation between government, businesses, and workers, allowing policy decisions to focus on stability without sacrificing innovation. By positioning itself as a reliable partner within Europe, Austria attracts investment while maintaining independence in key sectors. Its strategy contrasts with larger economies that rely on scale or aggressive expansion to drive growth. Instead, Austria builds influence through precision, trust, and regional connectivity. This quiet approach may appear understated, but it creates resilience against global shocks by diversifying economic activity and maintaining fiscal prudence. Critics sometimes view Austria as overly cautious, yet the results suggest that gradual adaptation can be more sustainable than rapid disruption. The story of Austria's economic rise challenges common assumptions about success, showing that prosperity does not always require global dominance or constant reinvention. Rather, it emerges from systems that align incentives across society and support long-term planning. Understanding this model provides insight into how smaller nations can achieve stability in an increasingly unpredictable world. Austria's experience illustrates that wealth built quietly can endure longer than wealth built through dramatic cycles of boom and bust. The real lesson of Austria's success is that lasting prosperity often grows from systems designed to evolve slowly but consistently over time.